This might give us an idea for what we could get next year, though I still want to get the heads of mascots to come and get dropped off and put on our desk. We'll get a different mascot head each week, and we'll put it on the desk, and then we'll return it. We won't hang it, because that would be rather barbaric, I think. This episode is sponsored by UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics. UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics and the UPMC Sports Medicine Concussion Program are proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor the high school football preview show on the Mirror TV YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons, their specially trained concussion management experts, and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho. To schedule an appointment in one of their offices in Hollidaysburg, Ebensburg, or Bedford, call 814-889-3600. That's 814-889-3600. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Week 8 of the High School Football Show on Mirror TV on the YouTube channel. I am joined again by the all-everything high school football beat writer, Mike Boydum. I'm your host, Scott Franco, and we're going to get right into this before we get to the fun stuff, or do we do the fun stuff right away first? We do the fun stuff right away. We have some good games on here. We got a hat. Actually, 2 people from the Cove offered us hats. Mike got the hat. We also got another thing, but we finally got it. It's a really nice, Central hat.
Dwayne Oaks.
And also Mr. Albright, the math teacher up there in the Cove, who also coaches on the staff up there. He offered me a hat, and I said, we already got one. I didn't want to be a glutton. But also, we got this as well from Dave Baker, Coach Dave Baker's wife.
Coach Baker's wife, Nancy. I was in the press box covering the big Central Bedford game, and one of the coaches handed it to me. It was from her. She wanted to give us a hat, but she said all of Dave's hats were a little dirty.
Yeah. And also, this is like a sweat towel, and you can tell it's perfectly dry. Central has not had to sweat much this year, so it hasn't even been used yet. So that was nice that we got this. This might give us an idea for what we could get next year, though I still want to get the heads of mascots to come and get dropped off and put on our desk. We'll get a different mascot head each week, and we'll put it on the desk, and then we'll return it. We won't hang it, because that would be rather barbaric, I think. But anyways, thank you,
Maybe
Central.
you should just wear them everywhere.
I would do that, too. I would actually wear the Green Hornet. Is that what it is? The Juniata Valley Hornet? That thing is scary. I mean, I went to a Claysburg, Juniata Valley, and that thing scared me. Anyways, we're going to get right into our first game here. Central Dauphin, 4-1, at Altoona, 4-3. Central Dauphin is one of the good teams in that Mid-Penn Conference. But I still like Altoona a little bit. You wrote a little bit about that quarterback from Central Dauphin that's pretty good that Altoona's going to have to worry about.
Well, yeah, he's a dual threat, but when I talked to Coach Niedermeyer, he said Central Dauphin is just going to try to push him around, and, that could mean it's a very quick game, because obviously Altoona's going to be running the ball, and if Altoona's playing the way they want to, they're holding the ball for 9 minutes at a time. And they've been able to do that at times, even against really good competition like Harrisburg. They got back on the winning track last week. And I saw that you picked Altoona in this one.
I did.
Talk a little bit about what you feel.
Well, here's what I got to catch up with these guys in front of me: Buck, Frank, John Hartsock, and Mike. And last week I got made fun of by people outside this building. That's all I will say, for taking Chestnut Ridge over Bishop Guilfoyle. And I just thought this is the year to catch BG. And that's why I like to pick. I think Altoona, they stated, you talked a bit about how they haven't put 4 quarters together in a while. They were there with Harrisburg up until half. They were there with Central Dauphin East up until half. And I don't think Central Dauphin's as good as Harrisburg. And because it's at Altoona, and I think winning last week, that's why I like it. This game were at Central Dauphin, I would have taken Central Dauphin. But I think home matters, and when you have records that are similar, that's why I took Altoona. Is that any good? Is that enough? Is that enough selling point there? Our next game, which doesn't matter who they're playing, I always pick them. Hollidaysburg 2-4, coming off a dusting at Erie McDowell, is at West Mifflin, which is a Whippeal school. If anybody's familiar with where Kennywood is, that's where West Mifflin School District. West Mifflin's 1-6. You were talking to Homer this week. What's Homer think?
Well, Homer says he wants you to forget the fact that they're 1-6 because they've played a lot of tough competition. And if you remember, when Altoona and Hollidaysburg were in the Whippeal, they didn't have the greatest records either. So they've had to play some tough teams. They played Elizabeth Forward and were able to beat them. That's an Elizabeth Forward team that's 5-2.
Yes.
So this team has some talent, and if Hollidaysburg doesn't show up ready to play, they're going to be in trouble. Now, with that said, I don't know that you were at the game last week. I don't know that it could get much worse than the way things went last week. And I'm sure that that's left a bad taste in their mouth, and I'm sure that they're probably going to want to go out and put their best foot forward this week.
Yeah, and there's nobody, and Homer said the same thing, there's nobody on their schedule the rest of the way that's as good as this McDowell team, as big as this McDowell team. West Mifflin's win did come early in the season. They just lost to McKeesport 49-0. I looked on Max Preps because I wanted to see, they only have 25 kids on their roster for a school that size. They only have 3 coaches. I mean, that sounds like a single A size staff. But I mean, if Hollidaysburg's going to get back on it, they still have plans on playing Central Mountain in the district final. They got the Lindsay School from West Virginia, and they still have Tyrone, but they really need to beat this team to start on its roll. Another team that I'm curious to see what Mike thinks about, Penn Cambria, which did not have a game last week because of
they had a COVID situation.
Yeah, they are 5-2, playing at Bedford 6-1. I mean, Bedford, I got to think Bedford would be more than a touchdown favorite. Not that we again are talking about lines or anything, but Bedford's really good, I think.
Well, Bedford's good, and they're also coming off a game where they did not play well.
Yeah.
Central and Bedford last week, I thought neither team played up to their full potential. And, that's probably frustrating for Bedford because they came into that game, they wanted to prove a point, and they had 4 turnovers in the first half. Now, the second half, Bedford played much better, and you got to think that's probably going to carry over against Penn Cambria, a team that did not play last week. And you saw with how Hollidaysburg reacted after a week off.
Yeah.
That's not always the best thing. It's good to get rest sometimes, but sometimes having that week off, especially when you're on a little bit of a roll, like Penn Cambria was 5-1 going into that bye where they had to forfeit, and sometimes that's just a bad thing to get you off pace. But I will say this. Even with a week off where they didn't play, Garrett Harold is still number 3 in passing and number 2 in rushing. And he's only 10 yards back of the rushing leader in our whole area. So that just goes to show you how good of a season he's been having. And he can take over a game at any time. So Bedford has to be ready for him.
And again, if you're Penn Cambria kids, if you have that as your leader, you got to feel good. But the one thing you were saying again, they didn't play last week. They're going to Bedford, who I always joke around here. They're mad. They're coming off a loss. I always like teams coming off a loss saying they're mad. That's why I like Bedford in this one. This next one's, again, and I don't want to surprise Mike with who's covering this game, but Portage 6-0, who didn't play last week. That's just because they had a bye because the team they're supposed to play doesn't have a football program anymore. They're at Berlin 6-1. Who is covering this game? And that's got to be, either way, it doesn't matter, neutral field. I think that's going to be a close game, would you not?
Yeah, I think that this one's going to be a good game. It has been a good game the last few years. I remember John Hartsock telling me he covered this game, I think, a couple of years ago, where he was standing on top of a press box and it was pouring down rain. But he was still happy to be there because these teams played such a good game. I remember a few years ago, Berlin at Westpac Media Day saying, you better get us now because we're going to be really good in the next few years. Well, they're really good now, and it's a tough matchup for Portage, who has to go up against them this week and then Winburn next week. And that's a tough way to finish the season.
Well, I'm still trying to stay at the top of those District 6 standings.
But fortunately, the District 6 awarded them 100 playoff points for their game last week because they decided that it wasn't fair to these teams where there was a late co-op. So anybody who was supposed to play Williamsburg or supposed to play like one of the River Valley Salzburg teams or Bishop Carroll or anything like that. The teams that merged and got into a co-op, and if they couldn't find a replacement, District 6 is giving them 100 playoff points for those games if they couldn't find a replacement.
Does Hollidaysburg get one since we didn't have that replacement for that October 1st game?
I don't believe that you ever had a game scheduled against a team that merged against someone
we did,
else.
But we tried to play somebody. Nobody went. I don't know why anybody was afraid of us, but we tried. Hey, I'm trying. Let's go to our Saturday. Our Saturday team in Blair County, Bishop Guilfoyle 4-3, hosting Central Cambria 3-4. And I actually I'm not going to name them, but there's somebody I know who said they were tempted that they might take Central Cambria in this game if it were at Central Cambria because he felt like they've been playing better. But BG's coming off that loss to Chestnut Ridge.
Well, one of the most disappointing things about this matchup is that Hobbs Dill will not be playing. He's probably out for the season. I talked to Coach McGregor. He has a collarbone injury, and the timeline just doesn't look good. Central Cambria would have to make a nice run for him to be able to get back. And even Coach Wheeler said he's disappointed that they're not being able to go up against Hobbsdale because they want to play the best in the state to get ready, and he thinks Hobbsdale is one of the better guys out there. Now, that said, Ethan Gillen has stepped in for Central Cambria, and he's done a great job. He's actually moving right up there. He's almost equal with Dill's numbers now, that he's gotten about the equal number of carries. And that means their line is pretty formidable, the Central Cambria line. And that's been a struggle with Bishop Guilfoyle this year. So we'll have to see how that holds up. Now, that said, Central Cambria's allowed the most points in our coverage area. So this might be an opportunity for BG to get their offense going.
Okay. And then this is our segment now where we do our quick hits. This is where Dan, or our guest director this week, Pat Waksmunski, is going to put in our cool sound effects, which I expect our cool sound effects to show up. But our first quick hit, Cambria Heights 7-0 at River Valley. Real quick, what is River Valley's nickname?
They are the Panthers.
The Panthers. And that's Salzburg and Blairsville, right?
Yep.
They're 5-1. River Valley's hosting this. What do you want to say about that game?
This game could mean the Heritage Conference title for Cambria Heights. And
Appalachian Bowl.
Yes, that would mean that they would go to the Appalachian Bowl and play the winner of the West Pack. And this is obviously their first year in, and things have gone great for Cambria Heights. They got a chance to run the table here, and the Appalachian Bowl would be a great first step in their first year in Heritage.
Portage could end up in that game, could they not? So we have two local teams that would play each other. That'd be a good game to cover. And that's a neutral site, right? Mm-hmm. Where they play that. Our other quick hit, tell us about Northern Bedford, which, real quick, Northern Bedford started the year 0-3, and Mike kept saying...
No. They won their first game 7-2.
Then over Tussey.
Over Southern.
And then they lost 3 in a row to 3 really, really good teams. Yep. Bellwood, Cambria Heights, and is it Berlin, I think?
No, Windber.
And Mike kept saying this team would get better and everything, and they're 4-3 now. Yep. And he's coming off that big win over Juniata Valley. Something about them in the District 5 playoffs with Tussey.
And now there's only 2 teams left in 1A because Conemaugh Township had to move up to 2A when they merged, when they had their own merger there. And that means that Tussey Mountain and Northern Bedford were the only 2 teams. Now, I talked to Tussey Mountain's athletic director today, Matt McCann, and he told me that the Tussey Mountain will enter the playoffs, so that means that Northern Bedford and Tussey Mountain will play each other in the championship no matter what Tussey's record is. He said, hey, we don't have the greatest record, but we've had a tough circumstance this year with our coach leaving right before the season, and we got a bunch of young kids. It's a chance for another game, and they want the experience.
And I know Gary Black doesn't want me saying this, but that was such a great win last week at Juniata Valley. I'd love to see them in District 6 this year because right there they already proved that they can beat one of the better teams in District 6. BG would be another team I'd like to see them against, but, hey, good for them. They're in District 5 right now. And then last but not least, I'm interested to see our stat of the week. What is our stat of the week?
My stat of the week this week is with the district playoffs coming up, and I know a lot of these kids probably don't think about, they just think, oh, we want to be the champions. But District 6, winning District 6 is so impressive because I want to just put it on a scale for everybody. Like, District 6 is so big, it is 100, I looked this up, it's 141 miles from Juniata High School, which you're familiar with in
Yeah.
Mifflin
On
Town,
the other side of Lewistown.
to West Shamokin, which is in District 6 in Indiana County.
Like Katanning,
There's
right?
141 miles and almost 3 hours. So you're the champion of all that area of Pennsylvania. So keep that in mind when you're playing for the district title. That's a big space that you could be the champion of.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this portion. This is where I do my cool name segment.
I wanna know what's the name of the game.
We're going to do Portage and Penn Cambria this week as we are rounding out. We're running out of cool names. I'm going to have to go outside the district, I think. But anyways, from Penn Cambria, a junior, his name is Price Selznick. Now that'll appear above your screen there. So he's a lineman for Penn Cambria, Price Selznick. I just think that's a cool first name, Price. And then from Portage, this kid's been in the paper quite a few times, Orrin Heidler. Again, that sounds like a distinguished name. Somebody be a professor of like anthropology at St. Francis or something. Orrin Heidler, he's a senior running back, linebacker. And again, Price Selznick from Penn Cambria, he's a lineman. But that will be our, there we go, the garbage cans over there too. But that's going to do it for week 8. Those were all our predictions. This is, again, thank you to Central for the hat and for the towel we got. Hoping to see, what game do you have this week?
I'm in the office this week.
Okay, I'm trying to think what hats we could get. Maybe I'll get a West Mifflin hat for us, but we'll take any hat.
How about Altoona?
We'd
Still
be a
don't have
nice,
Altoona.
yeah, whoever is coming to the Altoona game, maybe they could bring back an Altoona hat for us. That would be nice. For Mike Boydham, for Pat Waksmunski, our guest director and special effects guy, I'm Scott Franco. Thanks for watching Mirror TV on YouTube. Take care.